When people hear United States versus China, they usually imagine a loud, dramatic war between two giants, missiles, tariffs, speeches, and headlines. But the real competition is much quieter, much slower, and far more dangerous. Because this is not a war about who wins today, it is a war about who gets to decide how the future works. Most people think the rivalry is about factories, phones, or semiconductors, but those are just symptoms. The real conflict is about control over systems, rules, time, and patience. And to understand it, we need to start with one uncomfortable truth. America and China are not playing the same game. The United States plays a short-term game shaped by elections, markets, and quarterly results. China plays a long-term game shaped by decades, generational planning, and endurance. This single difference explains almost every strange decision both countries make. And here's a detail few people talk about. America is optimized for speed. China is optimized for survival. Speed wins races, survival wins centuries. Let's start with technology, because this is where most people think the battle is happening. Phones, AI chips, and software. But the secret war is not about who invents first, it is about who controls the foundation. China spent years quietly building parallel systems, alternatives to Western technology, not because they were better, but because they needed to exist. China accepted inefficiency on purpose just to reduce dependence. This is something the U.S. system almost never does because inefficiency looks like failure on paper. While American companies are punished immediately for losses, Chinese companies can operate at a loss for years if the long-term goal is strategic. This is why China was willing to flood global markets with cheap products, even when it lost money. The goal was not profit, it was exhaustion. Once competitors disappear, control becomes cheap. Now let's talk about money, because this is one of the least understood parts of the rivalry. The US dollar is the backbone of the global system. America benefits from this enormously, but it also traps America inside its own success. China understood something very early. If you challenge the dollar directly, you lose. So instead of attacking it, China slowly built a controlled alternative, keeping its currency tight, restricted, and weaponized. A detail most people miss: China does not see U.S. Treasury bonds as an investment. China sees them as leverage. Holding them is not about returns, it is about influence, the ability to move markets quietly without firing a single shot. Another invisible battlefield is time, and this is where the gap becomes dramatic. U.S. leaders operate under election cycles every 4 years. Policies must show results fast. China operates under plans that span 20, 30, even 50 years. Chinese leaders can afford to look wrong today if it means being right later. This is why China tolerates slowdowns, unrest, and criticism, while the U.S. panics when growth dips for 2 quarters. There is a strange psychological difference, too. America defines winning as growth today. China defines winning as the opponent getting tired. This explains why China is patient during sanctions, trade wars, and pressure campaigns. The strategy is simple: wait longer than your opponent can stay angry. Now, here's one of the most hidden and powerful arenas of competition: standards. Whoever writes the rules controls the game. This includes internet protocols, AI ethics, digital payments, 5G, and future infrastructure. Most people never hear about these meetings because they are boring, technical, and quiet, but this is where futures are decided. China shows up consistently. America often shows up late, distracted, or divided. An almost absurd detail: China sometimes pushes standards it knows are not perfect, just to make sure Western standards are not the default, because once a standard spreads, changing it becomes nearly impossible. And then there's ideology, but not in the way people think. This is not democracy versus authoritarianism. That is surface level. The deeper conflict is about control versus trust. The American system assumes trust until it is broken. The Chinese system assumes control until trust is earned. Neither approach is perfect, but they shape everything from business to education to innovation. America creates incredible breakthroughs fast, but struggles to coordinate. China coordinates extremely well, but struggles with creativity. The rivalry is not about who is better, it is about which weakness becomes fatal first. Perhaps the most underestimated battlefield is human capital. America still attracts global talent, but political instability, social division, and immigration barriers are slowly weakening that advantage. China, on the other hand, loses talent to emigration, but compensates by scaling education, discipline, and centralized direction. Here's a detail rarely mentioned. China does not aim to defeat the U.S. outright. The goal is to make American dominance expensive, tiring, and unsustainable. The U.S., on the other hand, still behaves as if dominance is permanent. This mindset difference alone may decide the outcome. So, when people ask who is winning, the answer is uncomfortable. No one is winning yet, because this is not a sprint, it is a test of endurance, systems, and psychology. History shows that great powers rarely fall because they are defeated, they fall because they refuse to adapt. The real question is not whether America or China wins. The real question is which system learns faster from its own mistakes. Because in the long run, power does not belong to the strongest or the richest, it belongs to the most adaptable. If you want to see how these hidden decisions shape real outcomes, watch the full horizontal videos on my YouTube channel and write in the comments which two countries you want compared next, because the most dangerous battles are always happening quietly.